Hello, everyone. I am Ron Maestro, and appreciate you guys spending your time with me, a few minutes with me today. Thank you so much. Um, as you're joining, feel free to drop a go in the chat and let me know where you're joining from today. Before we get started, I also want to mention that throughout the presentation, which is only 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to notice a QR code on the screen from time to time. Several people have been, from previous coffee times, have asked for a way to continue these discussions privately. So if you'd like to compare notes on your environment, you can use that QR code to schedule a complimentary 15-minute device clarity brief. There's no sales presentation, no obligation, just an opportunity to discuss your environment and exchange perspectives. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so today's topic is from complexity to control. That's the series for this week. And today's topic is designing governance that scales. And I think this one is one of the most important conversations we've had in this series. And that's because many organizations don't struggle because they lack technology. They struggle because complexity grows faster and faster and faster than governance. So it becomes quite a bit of a problem and a struggle for them. We'll move right on to the next slide. I want to ask you guys a quick question. Have you ever noticed that every time the organization grows, things seem to get harder? Like you get more locations or more devices, more users, more carriers, more stakeholders, and suddenly questions that used to be simple, they become difficult. And you may be thinking, we've got good people, we've got good tools, we have everything that we need in place. So why does everything feel so complicated? It's at least much more complicated than it used to. I'm here to tell you that you are not imagining it. Scale exposes weaknesses that smaller environments can hide very well. And scale creates weaknesses that smaller environments don't have. And that's the importance of, if your plan in your business is to grow, that is the importance of governance and having a growth plan, at least to the best of your ability, in place. I've seen some of the major organizations that you know of today. I've been a part of their growing pains and seen its great success, but those growing pains happen because it's almost impossible to completely figure out or think about everything that you need to do as you scale. But it is important to have some type of governance in place and a plan for that. So just moving right along. As I mentioned, 100 devices can survive loose processes, but 10,000 devices cannot. A single location can survive unclear ownership, but a global environment cannot. So scale doesn't create governance problems, it exposes them. This is why I'm saying it's really important to think now. If you are a smaller business, think and you plan to scale, or you're in process of scaling and you haven't taken the time to document governance, I would say do that now. Now is the time to do that. And for the larger organizations that have scaled and are experiencing these weaknesses, we'll talk a little bit about what other organizations are doing that is more effective for them, some things that you can do to help with scaling as well. Obviously, all of this is around mobility and managed services, but it applies to any aspect of your business where scale is creating tension. So let's go ahead and move along to the next slide. So can governance scale is the question. When people hear governance, they often think policies, documentation, compliance. Those things do matter, but governance is really about answering a few simple questions. Who owns it? Who decides? Who approves? Who's accountable? What happens when something changes? That one is super key. And when those answers aren't clear, complexity fills those gaps because nobody knows who's doing what. There's finger pointing. There's people start to get frustrated, and then your customers are feeling that pain, and that's what you don't want. So what do governance gaps really look like? You're talking about delayed decisions, ownership confusion, operational friction, escalation, and manual workarounds, right? That's how they show up. conflicting priorities, inventory that's uncertain, I said the manual work, and executive frustrations. And then, like I said, if you've got that all of that happening, you must believe that your customers are experiencing it and feeling it. And I say that to the leaders because many times leaders are a little bit disconnected from the customer experience and what customers are actually feeling. And here's what's interesting. Many organizations don't even recognize they don't recognize these as governance issues. They think it's an operational issue, but often the operational symptoms are simply exposing governance gaps underneath. So just kind of putting the finger, touching the sword, the open sword is what we're doing today, right? Here's the real problem. So you may be wondering, how do we know whether our governance model is actually scalable? And that's a fair question. Like I said, it's almost impossible to think of every scenario to have you prepare for scale. But what you can do is look at models. What are other organizations doing? What are businesses like DMI saying about organizations that are scaling and the things that we know do and don't work? And honestly, it's one of the most common conversations I have during these clarity briefs because every organization has governance, hopefully. The question is whether that governance is designed for where the business is going next. Okay? Let's talk about what high performing organizations do differently. Organizations that scale successfully tend to do a few things very well. They create clear ownership, they establish decision making frameworks, they build operational accountability, they create visibility across their teams, and they review governance before complexity forces them to. They don't wait until things break, they design for growth. Okay? I'm so happy to help you talk about how, if you haven't already done that, how your company can design for growth. And I think this is where many leaders are today. You may not have a crisis, you may not have major problems, but you may be wondering, will our current model still work 2 years from now? And especially with technology and AI, it's a question that should be at the top of every leader's mind. And that is the right question because governance isn't about where you are today. It's about supporting where you're headed. So I have a quick question for you. What becomes more difficult as your organization grows? What do you think it is? What's happening for you today? Is it visibility? Is it ownership? Is it support? Decision making? Feel free to drop it in the chat. As I mentioned, there's opportunities to get on my calendar. You've seen a QR code throughout this presentation. You can also click on the link in my bio within LinkedIn to jump on my calendar. Let's talk about it. I would love to hear your perspective. And if there's one thing I'd leave you with today, it's this: technology scales, complexity scales, growth scales. The question is whether governance scales with them. If today's conversation has made you curious about your environment, if it's structured for scale, I'd love to continue the conversation. Like I said, there are plenty of ways to get on my calendar, one of which is the QR code that you might have already scanned. If not, just send me a direct message on LinkedIn or click on the link in my bio to grab a spot on my calendar. Or introduce me to someone in your organization responsible for mobility, telecom, infrastructure, operations, or digital workplace strategy. I would love to speak with them. And I think it would be 15 minutes well worth your time and their time. The best conversations almost always happen after coffee time. So I really appreciate you for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me. Sips up until next week. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.